Hi guys, it's me, ShazraHD, and welcome to the first stream of 2022. Hopefully you guys are doing well. It's been, 3 weeks, I think, since the last Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi. Of course, a very controversial Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi. There has been, thankfully, some news since that Grand Prix that we are going to get into in this stream tonight. Most of it, I would say, is covering Mercedes, of course, because that's where the main topic of news obviously has been since that Abu Dhabi Grand Prix controversy. So yeah, the main parts of news are to do with Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff. So we're getting to that. Also getting into stuff with the FIA, and also a possible new entry in Formula One coming in a few years' time that might be announced in the next, say, 2 or 3 months. So we'll get into that as well. But yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you've had I'd say as best a Christmas and New Year period as you could possibly have, given whatever circumstances you are in or going through. And yeah, hopefully with me today you will join me in reacting to the latest news in Formula One, and the news again since the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And all of the news that you're going to be seeing is all of the stuff that's happened literally since my last stream, which was on Monday, the 13th of December, I believe, which was the day after the Grand Prix. So all the bits of news that I'm about to, get into is everything that's happened since the end. But yeah, great to see you guys again, and let's just get into it. So before we get into, I'd say the first and real main topic, let's get into, I guess, what is the start of the title of this stream. And that is, so Mercedes did a Twitter post. I think this was on New Year's Day. I didn't actually see these pictures or the post itself until Nib sent me a couple of the pictures on New Year's Day. So I'm assuming it was tweeted on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, and basically the post said New Year, New Me, and then dash, and then the rest of the letters that would form, Mercedes. And it was a new picture of their 2022 car without any of the livery on it. I'll get into that picture now. If I just hide this stuff. Here you go. So this is the original picture that was, darkened. So, people, I don't think they honestly thought people wouldn't edit this and brighten it up to get a better look at this car, but they uploaded a kind of a dark teaser type of picture for this picture that they revealed did Mercedes. But if we go to the brighter picture, you can obviously now see the car better. And of course, you can see some of the new look of what the 2022 cars are going to look like with the rear wing, the front wing, especially the outer parts of the front wing, the wider parts of the front wing. Obviously, the tyres are bigger. And of course, the Mercedes livery. And we'll just move the picture there to show the front end, which I have to say, I really do like the front end of these new cars. They do, to me, look quite nice. A lot nicer than I thought they would. I mean, when we started seeing a couple years ago the concept pictures of these cars, they didn't look as good at the time as I hoped they would. But now we're seeing actual in the flesh pictures of these cars. They do look actually very, very nice. But yeah, I was going to say the Mercedes, they haven't obviously, spray painted the livery on the car. There are rumors that Mercedes next, or this year, I guess you would say, rather than next year, there are rumors that Mercedes are going to be going back to the silver livery instead of keeping the black livery that they had in 2020 and 2021. Of course, they had the black livery because of the to support Lewis Hamilton's, Black Lives Matter support and the injustices when it came to that. That's a main reason why they had the black livery. I have to say the black livery did look really, really nice. But again, we are hearing rumours they are going to go back to the silver livery for 2022. To be honest, the silver livery they had definitely in 2019 wasn't actually that bad. I actually thought their 2019 livery was the best silver livery they've had, period. The black livery, though, I have to say, was definitely very, very nice looking on the Mercedes car in the last couple of years. But yeah, this is a new picture of the new car. And, well, it's the only picture we have, but I don't think there's really that much to reveal, to be honest, about this car. Just all that it is, you know, it's the actual car in the flesh. I guess that's all you can really say about it. Also, you could make the point that, well, Mercedes are very much ahead of others at the moment because they did an engine fire up, I think, a few days ago, and it went all fine from what I heard. And then they've obviously revealed this picture, and we haven't, you know, heard any news about any other teams doing, you know, an engine fire up or, you know, showing their car already. So you could look at this as, well, Mercedes are quite far ahead of the game at the moment, but just because they're revealing stuff earlier does not mean they are going to be, you know, winning the World Championship in 2022. So we'll see, of course, what happens. But good to see already some of the new Formula One cars. As I'll just move back to this picture a moment. But yeah, new 2022 cars looking, I would say, pretty good from that picture we just saw. Just going to quickly adjust things there on my desk a moment, so just hold on a moment. Just need to move my mouse closer to me so I can do this a bit better, because I'm having to lean forward quite a bit. Let me just move things around. Right, there you go. That should be better now. But yeah, I'll just quickly show it again for anyone just tuning in. And there you go. But let's now get into the, I would say, main topic of this stream. So, of course, in Abu Dhabi, very controversial Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton was leading the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, was heading for his 8th World Championship. It looked almost certain. And then, of course, Nicholas Latifi brought out the safety car having an accident. And then the controversy began when the safety car came in right before the final lap of the Grand Prix. And it turned out it wasn't quite the right thing to do. Max Verstappen would end up capitalising on this, being on softer tyres, and of course fresher tyres, and passing Lewis Hamilton for the lead and the World Championship on the final lap in a thrilling, but again, controversial end to the Formula One season. And we have had quite a bit of news regarding this, you know, since this controversy happened. Of course, we covered some of it in the following day or so. Mercedes initially, in the following hours of the Grand Prix, they appealed the result. The FIA then rejected it. Mercedes then they announced their intention to appeal that. And then the deadline was the Thursday after the Grand Prix, which was, I think, Thursday the 16th of December, which was, 4 days or so, I think, after the Grand Prix. And then when the day came, Mercedes decided not to appeal. We'll get on to later on whether they should have appealed. But let's go through first their appeal statement. So this is what they had to say on that Thursday where they decided not to appeal the result of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So they said, "Dear F1 community and fans, we left Abu Dhabi in disbelief of what we had just witnessed. Of course, it's part of the game to lose a race, but it's something different when you lose faith in racing. Together with Lewis, we have deliberated carefully over how to respond to the events at the F1 season finale. We have always been guided by our love for this sport, and we believe that every competition should be won on merit. In the race on Sunday, many felt, us included, that the way things unfolded was not right. The reason we protested the race result on Sunday was because the safety car regulations were applied in a new way that affected the race result. After Lewis had been in a commanding lead and on course to win the World Championship, we appealed in the interest of sporting fairness, and we have since been in a constructive dialogue with the FIA and F1 to create clarity for the future so that all competitors know the rules under which they are racing and how they will be enforced. Thus, we welcome the decision by the FIA to install a commission to thoroughly analyse what happened in Abu Dhabi. We will hold the FIA accountable for this process, and we hereby withdraw our appeal. So basically what they did is, the FIA announced they were going to investigate and produce a report into the controversial end to that Grand Prix, which we are still waiting, I believe, on that report from the FIA. But the real reason, they kind of make out in this statement that the reason they withdrew their appeal was because the FIA promised to, they promised to do their own investigation, but that's not really the reason that they did that. The reason that they did that, the reason they did not follow through and appeal the result again after the FIA initially rejected it on the Sunday night after the Grand Prix, the reason they didn't go any further is because even if they proved that the way the race ended was wrong and that the safety car, in terms of the regulations, it wasn't used in the correct way, it wouldn't have actually changed anything. The result wouldn't have... Right. Is that worked now? Can you guys hear me? Let's see if you can. For some reason, it really lagged then, my stream. Put a yes or something in the chat to let me know that you guys can hear me. That would be great. I did see the stream was lagging quite a bit as I was going on there. There you go. Right. Sorry about that, but we go on. But as I was going to say, the reason, even if, it wouldn't have changed the result, them appealing it, because Max Verstappen, I think, still would have been declared champion, because they would have had to go through the FIA process, the FIA appeal process, and the FIA, the chances are the FIA are not going to find themselves guilty. And actually, when you look at the rules, which we'll get into in a second, the FIA, technically speaking, within the regulations that, we have for Formula One, technically speaking, the FIA, or, Michael Massey, the FIA race director for Formula One, actually did follow the rules, even though those rules, again, they're a bit of a grey area, I guess you could say. We'll get into them now. So this is Article 48.12 of the sporting regulations. Now, this rule gets into when the safety car, in regards to, letting lapped cars unlap themselves. This is the regulation that gets into when the safety car should come in regards to when the lapped cars, do the unlapping process. So it says, if the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so and the message lapped cars may now overtake has been sent to all competitors, any cars that have been lapped by the leader will be required to pass the cars on the lead lap and safety car, unless the clerk of the course considers the presence of the safety car still necessary. Once the last lapped car has passed the leader, the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. That right there is the reason Mercedes were angry, because what should have happened is, because Michael Massey decided wrongly to let the cars through on the penultimate lap, because he decided to do it on that lap, what should have happened is the race, because it was the penultimate lap, the race should have finished under safety car conditions. Which I think should have happened, he should have let the cars through, the lapped cars through the lap before, then that final lap that we got would have happened and would have been all fine, and there wouldn't have been such an outrage, I don't think, online in regards to the rules and Michael Massey and the FIA. But technically speaking, he did get it wrong in regards to when the safety car is supposed to come back into the pits. And yeah, we'll now get into, though, the other regulation that kind of gives Mercedes no real chance of really successfully winning an appeal and changing anything that happened results-wise at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So this is Article 15.3 of the sporting regulations, and it says, the clerk of the course shall work in permanent consultation with the race director. The race director shall have overriding authority in the following matters, and the clerk of the course may give orders in respect of them only with his express agreement. There's other things that, the race director has overriding authority on, but one of them, I think E, which was one of them, was the safety car. So that is the reason the FIA rejected the appeal, and that's the reason really why Mercedes, even if they had gone through the FIA appeal process, that is the reason why they wouldn't have, won anything in regards to the appeal process, because the regulations allow Michael Massey to do what he did, even though, yes, this rule clearly says once the last lapped car has passed the leader, the safety car has to return to the pits at the end of the following lap, which in that case, the safety car should have basically stayed out until the end of the Grand Prix, technically coming in with about 2 corners to go of the Grand Prix, meaning that no overtaking would have been done, because obviously you can't overtake until the start-finish line, so it would have ended how it was under safety car conditions. But with the way the rules are, this regulation overrides this regulation, because Michael Massey, the race director, has overriding authority on matters such as the safety car. So, technically speaking, in terms of the regulations, Michael Massey followed them and did not, he didn't break the rules necessarily, even though I don't actually agree with this regulation, because I think it can lead to abuse of power, this type of regulation, that the race director has an overriding authority, because the race director, isn't always going to be right in its use of the safety car and red flags and other stuff. So I don't actually agree with this regulation. But again, when it comes to the actual, was it against the regulations? Technically speaking, it wasn't. But I think you could still, if Mercedes, if they went through with the appeal process, I still think, despite this regulation allowing Michael Massey to essentially get away with it, I still think Mercedes should have followed through with an appeal to prove that what went down was not quite right. And they shouldn't have just done it for, just to, do it around the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but they really, I think, should have gone through with the appeal process really to prove a point in terms of Michael Massey and his race directing of Formula One, because his job as race director that he's had since, sadly, of course, Charlie Whiting passed away at the very start of the 2019 season, Michael Massey has not been that good, honestly. He's had plenty of moments where you just think that he isn't quite good enough for this job and he's quite out of his depth, which I do think actually he is out of his depth. We'll probably get onto that at a later maybe stream or video or whatever, but I think they should have followed through again to prove the point that Michael Massey, despite this rule, which again I don't agree with, and I don't think probably, given what happened in Abu Dhabi, I don't think that many people did probably agree with it. This regulation was clearly not followed. And again, even though Michael Massey has the overriding authority to do what he did, the regulations were not followed, and Michael Massey did not follow the proper procedure that he should have. Which is why, again, even if it was just to prove a point that Michael Massey did things wrong and is not competent enough to hold the position of FIA race director, they should have gone through with it just to prove that point, because Michael Massey, this is not just in regards to what happened in Abu Dhabi, but what happened in the previous Grand Prix at Saudi Arabia, what happened at previous races in regards to for example, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, where he denied the right to review for the Hamilton-Verstappen incident, even though we've seen other incidents penalised by the stewards for similar things in terms of pushing other cars off the track. You also have that crane incident at the Turkish Grand Prix in 2020, where he let qualifying to start when there was a crane still out on track under wet conditions where someone could have easily spun off and, like Jules Bianchi had gone into the tractor. They should have, again, gone through the process to prove a point that Michael Masi is not good enough for Formula One, and if he is kept, which he is going to be by the looks of it, something, maybe something bad won't happen, but we're going to have something like this again, where he gets it horribly wrong and brings down the integrity of Formula One, which, of course, we cannot have. But Toto Wolff, of course, had things to say. I think just after Mercedes announced they were not going to appeal the result of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, he had some stuff to say in regards to what went down. So let's get into that now. And this is what he had to say. The decisions that have been taken in the last 4 minutes of this race have robbed Lewis Hamilton of a deserved championship. He had a commanding lead on Sunday in Abu Dhabi from the get-go. He won the start and he never gave the lead away again. Robbing him in the last lap of the race is unacceptable. So that's what he thinks. Some of the headlines online were Michael Masi robbed Lewis Hamilton, which that's basically what he said. And from their perspective, I don't, I understand where they're coming from, and I don't really disagree with them that much, because I think Michael Masi, again, despite that regulation bailing him out there of any real proper scrutiny in terms of whether he will keep his job as FIA race director with his overriding authority, I still don't think he was in the right to do what he did. Even though, of course, what we had on the final lap there with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton racing wheel to wheel for the championship on the final lap and in the final few corners of the season, that was, all great and very exciting, but we cannot deny that the proper procedure was not followed in regards to the safety car and lapped cars. Also, Toto Wolff had this to say in regards to a topic that we're going to get onto actually later on, which is Lewis Hamilton. There has been some talk, and again, we'll get onto this later on, this talk, that Lewis Hamilton may not continue in Formula One. We'll just quickly get into what Toto Wolff has to say. He says, I think as a racer, his heart will say, I need to continue because he's at the peak of his game, but we have to overcome the pain that was caused upon him on Sunday. Also because he is a man with clear values, it's difficult to understand what happened. And then the final thing we'll go on to is actually a statement from the FIA in regards to this, which I thought was quite interesting that we saw a few days after the event. And this is a statement from the FIA in regards to what happened. So they say, the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix has prompted a large number of reactions from the F1 community and from motorsport in general, as well as in the public. The circumstances surrounding the use of the safety car following the incident of driver Nicholas Latifi and the related communications between the FIA race direction team and F1 teams have notably generated significant misunderstanding and reactions from F1 teams, drivers and fans, an argument that is currently tarnishing the image of the championship. The following presentation of a report regarding the sequence of events that took place, the FIA president proposed to the World Motorsport Council that a detailed analysis and clarification exercise for the future with all relevant parties will now take place. When it comes to this statement, I mean, some of the stuff they say in terms of, the biggest headline, I guess, from this statement is them saying that the reaction and misunderstanding from the public and the, fans, teams, drivers is tarnishing the image of the championship. Whilst that is true, the FIA are responsible for that tarnishing because of, again, that rule, the way it is, where the race director can have the overriding authority. But I think in regards to Michael Masi has proven before the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix that he is not good enough to hold that role and is not able to consistently apply the regulations in Formula One as race director. So I think, despite them stating the obvious, it's actually them who have done the tarnishing. You know, the reaction from teams, drivers, and fans. I mean, some of the reaction from some certain fan bases definitely is not called for and is just way over the top, but most of the reaction is, you know, justified. So it's the FIA who need to improve on this, and they need to find someone, in my view, better for the race director role, who has, one, more experience, and secondly, who can apply the regulations consistently so there is no bickering that we've seen, for example, this season in regards to Mercedes and Red Bull in the championship fight and other incidences in the past. But on reflection of this whole incident, I think, again, Mercedes, they should have appealed, even if it wouldn't have changed anything, just to prove the point that Michael Masi did the wrong thing and that he is not competent enough for the role of race director. Because now that Michael Masi has essentially got away with this, Michael Masi will mess up again. We will have another incident like this where Michael Masi does not properly enforce the regulations. It's going to happen again, and when it happens again, something better be done about it, because Michael Masi is not competent enough for his role as race director of Formula One. And even though I believe that Max Verstappen over the course of the season was the better driver, and I believe over the course of the season deserved to beat Lewis Hamilton to the championship, in regards to the final race, what happened at the end wasn't right. I think people can agree with that. I don't think anyone is going to sit here and say, you know, nothing was wrong and everything was absolutely brilliant. I think definitely everyone can agree that something, you know, in terms of the regulations, something wrong definitely happened. And hopefully the FIA, you know, publish their report soon. Hopefully lessons are learned. But with Michael Masi still as race director, I fear that that is probably not going to happen. But I'll just quickly move back to these pictures quickly, and I'll bring back up the ticker. There you go. And before, guys, we move on to the next topic, I just want to ask you guys in the chat, and also if you're watching this after the stream is finished, I want to ask you in comments as well. What did you think of, again, the incident now you've had more time to think about it? And again, in regards to what I just showed you there in terms of the regulations, do you agree with that regulation that the race director has the overriding authority? Do you think that regulation should be, you know, rewritten or something like that? What do you think about that? Do you think Michael Masi had the right to use the safety car in a different way to what he did? Again, let me know in the chat or in the comments section. And do you think Mercedes, like me, should have followed through with the appeal process just to prove the point that Michael Masi did something wrong and Michael Masi is not competent for the role he has? Let me know again in the live chat and comments section, and I'll make sure to come to your live chat comments in just a moment. Just want to say, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, because I will be doing plenty of streams over the winter. It won't be as many, of course, as we're going to be getting when the season properly starts, but I'm aiming, and I'll probably get onto this a bit more later on, but I'm aiming to do, definitely for this month, one stream a week at least. There may be more depending on my schedule, because of course I do have a part-time job, so if I do get more time off in regards to that, then there could be more streams, but there definitely will be at least one stream a week for this month, and then into February, of course, we'll get car reveals and then testing. There'll be more streams with that. So yeah, if you are new to the channel, then don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or just go to my channel page and do it there as well. Whilst you're there, hit the notifications bell, and don't forget as well to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can, but we have, 3 or 4 more bits of news to get into. The next couple are going to be interesting, but yeah, we'll get into the chat now. Let's see what you guys have to say. Bear in chat says Mercedes would have had to leave the sport in order to go after the FIA in a meaningful court and get Lewis's 8th championship, which isn't worth the cost considering the investment in the new regs. Yeah, I think it would have been a very tiresome process if Mercedes had gone that route. And yeah, I think it just would have been. I mean, they wouldn't have got an actual result from that if they had gone if they'd gone to the court of arbitration for sport or something like that. It would have took quite a long time, and it wouldn't have really ended up, being that great of a moment for them. Ronan Brady says, Chazza, I work in this area, and I don't think Mercedes had any chance at all of winning it. Yeah, I agree. I don't think they had a chance of winning it because, really, the reason they didn't have a chance of winning it is because they were going through the appeal process of the FIA, and the FIA are not going to rule against themselves, really, in that instance. And I think, honestly, when it comes to this report that the FIA are going to come out with, it's not going to be anything groundbreaking. It's going to be just, we'll try and do better next time. That's basically what it's going to be. Not going to be anything spectacular. Pato says, why have rules if a single person can do and make up what rules they like on the spot to suit him or his favourite team? I don't think Michael Massey has a favourite team. I don't think I'm going to go that far. But again, that regulation about, he can override, the safety car and red flags and stuff like that. I mean, to a certain degree, I think the race director has to, because there will be certain instances where, in regards to safety, the race director will have to have some sort of overriding authority to, ensure maybe, an extra safe Grand Prix, or you know what I'm trying to say. In terms of safety, that might be correct. But in terms of what happened on the final couple laps there in Abu Dhabi, I don't think, technically speaking, really that instance was calling for Michael Massey to having overriding authority. I just don't think it was needed. I don't think it was required. I don't think anyone was asking for Michael Massey to override the regulations of the safety car in terms of lapped cars and when the race can get underway. I don't think anyone was, asking him to override that authority, and that it was, clearly and necessarily the right thing to do. But I think when I look back, I still think that what he should have done is let through the lapped cars a lap earlier. Then we wouldn't have got this whole controversy, because then the race would have got underway, Max would have won, and then maybe the only things we would have heard online in terms of criticism or whatever is maybe some Hamilton fans being angry that the safety car came out. But yeah, let's find some other comments here in the chat. Roo says he used one rule to break another rule at best, while Massey has control over the safety car. I think he overstepped, handpicking which cars got to overtake the lead car. I think that's pretty much bang on what I'm trying to say. That's basically what he did. He used a regulation to, break another rule or override that other regulation, which again, in that instance, I don't think he had the right to do that, because it wasn't called for, I don't think. Bear says, general consensus is that the way the FIA interpreted its rules was horseshit, and they only got away with it because it wasn't worth it to Mercedes to appeal and leave the sport. Let's find some other comments here from some different people. Brother Moz, it says, either way, one side was going to be pissed and would have said the rules weren't followed. It was a lose-lose. G Walker says, don't forget, y'all, Mercedes had the opportunity to change tyres. That is true, and that's one thing I will maintain since the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, is that Mercedes should have appealed the result of... not appeal, what am I on about? They should have pitted, is what I'm trying to say. When the safety car was, announced, they should have pitted for new tyres. There's no excuse for that. Because again, even if Max pits for new tyres, Lewis would also be on new tyres if Lewis had pitted. If Max had stayed out and the safety car had come in at the end of the penultimate lap to allow us to have one final lap to decide the Grand Prix, let's say Max Verstappen was in Lewis Hamilton's shoes, Hamilton then probably would have won the Grand Prix and the championship. So there was not really, unless Max Verstappen put up an amazing defense, or Michael Massey did what he did, or did what he should have done in regards to the regulations and finished the race under the safety car. Unless those things had happened, Mercedes would have won the championship with Lewis Hamilton if they had pitted him when the safety car came out. So yeah, that was still a very poor decision by them. There's no doubt about it. Tonka says both teams were done wrong by the FIA all year. Mercedes handled the loss badly, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Let's see if there's any other comments that I can read out. In regards to this, Richard Reed says he had never had a chance to beat Lewis. He was not good enough to beat Lewis. Well, I disagree with that, but yeah. Pato says, how can you say he was better and more deserving when both drivers were level on the same points? The reason I'm saying that is because if you look at the entire season, Max Verstappen, most of the time, was, again, in my view, the better driver. Yes, they were level on points, but what you're not doing is you're not adding context to that. They were level on points, but Max Verstappen had 25 points took away from Baku, where he was leading and then his tyre failed. Let's say 18 points at least from Silverstone, where Lewis Hamilton crashed into him. And then you have Hungary, where Verstappen was up in 3rd or 4th place and then got smashed into by a load of cars, then had no rear floor, finished the Grand Prix, I think, in 9th place, but had no downforce, so he couldn't really go any higher up the field. When you factor that in, and then factor in that Lewis Hamilton, the only real race I can think of where he should have scored more points or points in general, but couldn't because of something out of his control, the only race I can think of is the Italian Grand Prix, where, of course, him and Max collided at the first chicane at Monza. When you compare that to, again, those three things for Max, for me, Max was the deserving winner of the championship because, I mean, let's say Max wins in Baku and then Max finishes again at least 2nd at Silverstone. Max would have had a pretty good or decent lead going into the summer break, and then may have had the championship wrapped up before we even got to the final race. So, for me, Max was the deserving winner of the championship. I mean, they were both great. I'd say they were both deserving in general, but if you were going to ask me who was more deserving, I'd have to say Max Verstappen, because I thought he was the better driver. Ruse says you should not be inventing procedures during the last lap of the championship decider period. If the following procedure correctly ends the race under safety car, that's it. Absolutely. Ken Waller says Max Verstappen is a paper champion because he had inside help from the FIA. Sorry, but facts are facts. I mean, yeah, he benefited from Michael Massey doing what he did, but let's not say he had inside help. This is not some grand conspiracy. I mean, come on. Ben says, I know this has already been said many times, but dang, imagine if it was Max and Red Bull on the other foot, they would have exhausted every avenue to overturn that result. Probably, but I think they would have ended up still with the same result as what Mercedes have ended up with, where they're ending up as the loser in regards to the result. Because, again, let's say it happened to them, they would have had to have gone through the appeal process of the FIA. And again, the FIA, they're not going to mark against themselves. I'm going to try and read comments out if I can before we move on to the next topic. I'm going to try and read out comments from people who I haven't read any comments out from yet. Will F1 says Mercedes were right to drop the appeal, in my opinion, would make them seem like bad losers and a company who complains a lot when things go against them, and they could have pitted Lewis during the VSC or safety car. Yeah, again, that is true. C. Osb says, I think Massey has made many wrong race control decisions, solely trying to keep the racing close and mostly trying to increase the fan base, but has damaged it more than bettered it. I do agree to that, yeah. Tandem says, if it was Max and Red Bull, they would have lodged on protest based on not being allowed to overtake, since that is what has always been done. See if there's any other here. Ewok says, it makes me sick to think about how the FIA helped Max orchestrate a championship. 101 Cheeky says, I think Mercedes had to really consider the brand for Toto to come out and say we definitely would have won, but the reward would have not been the championship. Again, that's why they didn't go through with it. Let's find any more comments from anyone we haven't read out yet. Maku says, man, so many weird calls throughout the season, mostly in favour of Mercedes. I'm not sure about that. In regards to the Silverstone crash, Hamilton was given, I think, the correct punishment, a 10-second penalty. And then you have Brazil, where Mercedes, I think, had the right to request a review of that incident. You know, the incident where Max clearly pushed or forced Lewis Hamilton off the track. They clearly had a right to, for that to be reviewed, and the FIA for some reason rejected it, even though it was a clear slam dunk for me. Let's see if there's any other comments here that we can read out. Pato says, I could argue that Max should have been punished and lost points in Brazil and Jeddah. He also avoided the crash at Silverstone and chose not to because he was leading by 33 points. Let's see if there's any more I can read out quick. I'll read out how many more? 2 more I'll read out, and then we'll move on to the next topic. So Ruza says, yeah, no one should blame Max. Max took the opportunity that was presented to him. Everyone should remember it is all Bottas's fault for being P8, P7 for the entire race. Ivor says, Mercedes did not appeal because if they won, then as a team, they had to pay the employees around 17-18 million pounds. Toto has 33% of the shares, so less money for him. I don't agree with that. Some people disagreeing with Pato in the chat in regards to Silverstone and Hungary. Again, I think people need to, in regards to, and I know, there was a lot of people who were very angry at the video I made. That, I did a long video about how Max Verstappen, I think, is it in the description of this stream? Let me just see. Yeah, it is. So you can go and watch it if you want after this stream. But I did a video. It was a clip from the last stream I did, about an hour and 20-minute video, I guess you could call it. And I did basically a whole season review of Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton's title fight. And if you go through it, if you actually go through it and go back into what happened, people forget that Max Verstappen, at the midway point of the season, before Silverstone, where things started to go a bit more in Hamilton's favour, no matter what you think of what happened. Max Verstappen was in a commanding position. I think before Silverstone, or after the Austrian Grand Prix, he had just won 3 races in a row. And then, the race before the French Grand Prix, which started those 3 wins in a row, was Baku, should have won and was going to win that race. Then the race before that was Monaco, that he won. So if he had won in Baku, then going into Silverstone, he would have had 5 consecutive race wins. And then at Silverstone, again, let's say Hamilton wins the race, even though I don't think he would have. I think Max Verstappen would have won the race, but let's say that Hamilton wins the race. Max Verstappen, again, going into the summer break, would have been in a very, very good and comfortable position in regards to the championship. I'm trying to think how many points would he have been leading by. Let me just think. He would have been, if he had won in Baku, and if, by the way, if he had won in Baku, I know, of course, Hamilton would have finished in 3rd place. I'm not going to discredit that. He would have been leading by, what, 20, 30 points, something like that. When we got to the summer break, then of course he then won the first 2 races after the summer break, which would have helped him massively. So let's not forget this. Yes, Lewis Hamilton at Monza looked as though he was probably heading for a very good result, and definitely a better result than Max Verstappen, because Mercedes were quicker in that Grand Prix. But that was the only race really this season that I think Hamilton was, didn't score as many points as he should have for something that was out of his control. That was the only race for Hamilton that I can think of. When for Verstappen, again, you got Baku, Silverstone, Hungary. What other Grand Prix? Maybe you could argue Monza as well, but we'll forget that, because it definitely benefited Max more than it did Lewis. Maybe you could argue Qatar, because of the grid penalty, and because Max broke his front, or some of his front wing in the first few laps of that race. Maybe you could argue that as well, but again, I think Max, in regards to the season, was the deserving winner overall. But if you guys want to continue any debate in the live chat, then make sure to continue to do that. But in a few moments, we're going to get on to our next topic of this stream, which will be about a team possibly joining the sport next, or not next season, obviously, or this season, but it will be probably in 3 or 4 years' time if this story does turn out to be true. By the way, thank you to the Flying Dutchman who says, Chazza, I admire that you're opening this jar of nasty worms. Got to be open sometime, hasn't it? But if you want to continue your debate, or continue talking about it, to make sure to, if you've got anything more to say, make sure to put it in the chat, and I'll still make sure to read out your comments in regards to that. But now let's get on to the next story, which is to do with this certain manufacturer. Now, of course, there's been many talk over the last 10, 20, 30, maybe more years that Audi have been interested at certain times of, they've been interested in entering Formula One. But it's never happened because the regulations have not suited the way they want to do things, or it's not been road relevant. We've heard that definitely around, the 2014 or the 2017 regulations in regards to why Audi decided not to enter Formula One at that point, because it wasn't, in regards to road relevance, it wasn't quite what they were seeking. But with the next set of regulations that we're going to see after this year's new set of regs, the next set of regs is going to be around 2025, 2026, and what we're going to see is much more electrification of the power units. We're going to see, I think, 100% sustainable fuel, and we're going to see possibly the MGU-H part of the power unit be removed due to cost and complexity. That's not confirmed, by the way, but we are expecting by midway through this year, I think, an FIA document in regards to the basic outline of what the 2025/2026 power unit regulations will be. But they will be taking on a much more electrified approach, I guess you could say. And of course, in regards to these power units going forward into the second half of this decade, Audi, also Porsche, have been, in talks with the FIA and have been listening in to what the FIA are possibly going to be doing in regards to the power units going forward. And according to, and I'll show this picture quickly of their Formula E cars. Of course, they're no longer, I believe, in Formula E, but there you go. According to racefans.net, and I'll just quickly post the link actually in the chat so you guys can click on the link yourself and have a look. According to racefans.net, Audi intends to confirm early next year its plans to enter Formula One. Finally, the manufacturer has advised the sport and its governing body, the FIA. Audi board chairman, I'll just read out the article because this, of course, is the main primary source. Audi board chairman Markus Duesmann, I think it is, and Audi technical development board member Oliver Hoffmann indicated the manufacturer is satisfied with the progress the FIA has made with the new technical regulations for the 2026 power units. F1 is seeking a new manufacturer to join Formula One following the departure of Honda, even though Honda is still going to be technically powering Red Bull. The two Volkswagen group brands, Audi and Porsche, have shown interest, and the former has now indicated it is close to making a commitment. In a letter that I believe Race Fans has seen or been kept in the know about, in a letter sent on Tuesday, Duesmann and Hoffmann told F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali and outgoing FIA President Jean Todt they believe the draft regulations offer a fair compromise for newcomers and existing competitors, as well as meeting the objectives agreed for the new power units. The FIA Motorsport Council subsequently confirmed that the 2026 power units will retain the existing 1.6-litre V6 engines and the increase in the amount of electrical energy they can generate, while doing away with the expensive MGU-H. So it is confirmed then. I thought it wasn't confirmed, but there you go, it is. And power unit costs will also be capped for the first time. So there will be a cost cap, not only for the teams, that of course has already started, but for the manufacturers in regards to the spending on the power units. There will be a cost cap in regards to that from 2026 on. The management board and supervisory board of Audi will now decide whether to formally approve his entry into the championship. And apparently, in an apparent swipe to rivals Mercedes, they opened their letter seen by race fans congratulating Todt on what it regarded as a fair conclusion to this year's F1 championship. And obviously, they're going to be poking fun at their rival there, but I would say Race Fans is a very reliable source, and given the, extra electrification that we're definitely going to be seeing in the power units in the second half of this decade, I am not totally surprised that Audi are in this position now where they're probably on the edge of announcing formally their intent to enter Formula One in 2025, 2026, whenever the regulations are officially announced. I think it'll be 2026 that these regulations, these new power unit regulations, come into force. But I have to say, if it does happen, then I'm going to be very, very excited for it. I think everyone will. It's been something we've been waiting for so long. I honestly never thought it was going to happen. I never thought Audi would make the commitment because it'd be too much for them to develop the team and the car, and they wouldn't want to put forward so much money to try and be, world champions in Formula One. But if this turns out to be true, then this really is great news for not just us fans, but Formula One in general. Because if we get Audi and maybe even Porsche into Formula One, alongside Mercedes, Renault, and Ferrari, then that is absolutely brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. That's absolutely what Formula One needs going forward into the future. But guys, let me know in the chat quickly. Do you believe this story? Do you believe that Audi are set to formally announce their intention to join Formula One? Let me know right now in the live chat and the comments, and I'll make sure to read out your comments in regards to this. And then we'll get back in a moment to Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. But let me read out your comments quick. C. Osb says Audi would be a breath of fresh air to the paddock and track. Obviously, people still talking about the controversy from Abu Dhabi. Let's see if there's any other comments in regards to Audi here. Volkswagen are probably actually the ones wanting to join, which means they will send in Audi and Porsche since they own them. But if they join, they are only going to enter as engine manufacturers, sadly. I'm not sure about that. Let's say Audi and Porsche do both come into the sport. I think what they'll probably do is have Audi as a works team, and then Porsche, say, as a supplier. Say Porsche supplying, say, Red Bull, and then Audi as a works team. I think them both coming in as suppliers, I just don't think that's the way they'll be wanting to do things, because when they've entered, the big other categories before, such as this, WEC, World Endurance Championship, or Formula E, they've, gone with their own teams. So I think that's what they're going to do. Definitely, I think with Audi, I think that's what they'll do. I don't think they'll only come in as manufacturers. That comment, by the way, was from Prussia. Let's find some other comments here. Let's see where I left off. Just trying to find some other ones in regards to Audi. Tonka says, if Audi gets the engine specs written as they want to enter the sport, it will happen. Prussia says, I think that only Porsche is going to join in the end, probably team up with Red Bull. That'd be quite underwhelming, to be honest, if that did happen. I think, though, what we'll do, before we move on to the next topic, I'll continue, I guess, this debate into what happened in Abu Dhabi, because it looks as though you guys are still massively discussing that. So we'll try and go back to where I left off, and then we'll get back into this debate. Pato says, in Hungary, Max was unlucky and could not have done anything about it. Hence, I never mentioned that race in my rebuttal. Eugene Kelly says, how he deserved to win when Lewis kicked Max's butt for 4 straight races and Max had no answer for his speed, and yet you keep saying Max deserved it. The season was, 22 races? Not long, not 4 races, so that's why. It was a 22 race season, and over the course of the 22 races, Max Verstappen, in my view, was, and in most people's view, was the better driver. I mean, yeah, Lewis was very good at the end of the season. I'm not denying that he was. But, yeah, it wasn't a 4-race season. It was a 22-race season. And, I could easily point to parts of the season where Max Verstappen was better than Lewis Hamilton. For example, the mid part of the season where he won in Monaco, was going to win in Baku, and then won in France and Austria twice. What about that? You know what I mean? I can easily pull the same argument, so... let's find some others here. Matty Holloway, says, in my opinion, should have red flagged the race, then did a standing start. I think that probably would have been the best solution. I mean, you still would have had accusations of, we're trying to have a Hollywood finish to the season, but it would have been, it definitely would have been probably the fairest. And, of course, he's done it before, Michael Massey, for stuff similar to the Nicholas Latifi crash, but him having the safety car out, I still think was the right decision. I should say, again, it was the way he used it, of course. Let's find some other comments in regards to this. Eugene Kelly also says, I'm talking about it being anybody's fault. I'm saying you all keep trying to bring up things that went against Max, but act like things didn't go his way too. Monaco and Russia and Spa all went his way. Monaco, I disagree. I mean, he obviously finished ahead of Lewis Hamilton, but it wasn't due to luck or anything. Max Verstappen was clearly, and Red Bull were clearly better than Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton that weekend. Hamilton didn't finish in, 7th place? He didn't finish in 7th because of bad luck. He finished 7th because that was the best he could do that weekend. Russia, yeah, I think you could definitely say that. But then again, I could say, well, if it didn't rain, then Hamilton wouldn't have won the race, because Norris was in the lead and looking like he was going to win it. McLaren's, of course, very hard to overtake during 2021, so I could easily pull that argument. But yeah, Max definitely had some good fortune in regards to the rain coming at the end to help him get up the field, but he also did make a better decision as to when to pit. And yeah, with Spa, I agree. You never know what could happen in that race. Maybe Lewis Hamilton would have responded and won the Grand Prix. Who knows? But yeah, I think in regards to most of your examples there, I think they're not that great, if I'm being honest. Let's find some other comments here. Adam Ahmed says, race director isn't there for exciting finish. He is a referee in this regard. This isn't WWE. This is sport. Of all positions should be treated fairly. Massey acted like P3, P4, P5 didn't matter. Yeah, I think you could say that. Let's see if there's any others here that I can find. Just trying to see if there's any others that I've not seen or read out. Guy Mears says, but it's still not within the regs to red flag. Even before the race, Massey said an incident at that corner wouldn't result in a red flag. Yeah. I mean, if he had thrown out a red flag, I wouldn't have been mad about it. But yeah, I do agree that it didn't require a red flag if you're looking at it based on, is the track blocked? Is there lots of debris? Is a driver, injured, or a marshal injured, or whatever? It definitely did not constitute a red flag. But, and yeah, I do agree also that even if he did throw out the red flag, then he technically would be doing exactly what he did with the safety car at the end. He would be overriding, I guess, the regulations to throw out the red flag. Ewok says, regardless of position, only using the rules to some drivers and not others it is an abuse of power to help certain teams. It was all season long inconsistencies in decision making. Eugene Kelly says that was luck, Shazza, because of Leclerc's car was broken. Max would have not won that race if Leclerc started at Monaco. The reason Leclerc didn't start is because he crashed. That's his fault. Yeah, Max definitely benefited from it. And yeah, there's definitely fortune from that. I'm not going to deny that. But it's not like Leclerc had an issue that he couldn't do anything about, is it? Leclerc, he crashed, and that's what led to him not starting the race. Because I think even if Ferrari, I think if I remember back to it, I think Ferrari only checked one side of the car and did not check the side of the car that actually had the fault. If they had found that fault before the race, they would have had to have taken a penalty anyway. I'm pretty sure, because of Parc Fermé rules. So, yeah, he was fortunate to a certain degree. I'm not going to deny that. But Leclerc, again, he made the mistake. He crashed into the wall. And that's why Max Verstappen ended up then starting the race on pole and winning the Grand Prix. But in a moment, we'll get to our next topic. I'm just getting something ready in regards to this. Right. Right, I'll just read out a couple more comments from you guys, and then we'll get on to the next topic quickly. And I'll make sure to adjust things as well. Prussia says, for me, it's pretty clear that Lewis did nothing wrong in the last race. It was Mercedes' fault by not pitting him. Yeah. Max would have gotten pole had Charles not crashed in qualifying Monaco. Maybe. He did have a very good... I remember his, what do you call it? His lap time delta. He was quite a bit up on his previous lap in that session. But who knows? Maybe Max would have made the same mistake. You don't know. That's the thing. If Leclerc doesn't make the mistake, doesn't necessarily mean that Max definitely would have got pole position. So, yeah. Let me just quickly mute my microphone a moment. But what we're going to do, guys, as hopefully what I'm going to do, works out. Hold on. What I'm going to do is something that I've been wanting to do actually for a while, which is we're going to react to a video in regards to a topic. That is what we are going to do in regards to this next incident, or not incident, but this next topic. We're going to go on to this now. So Lewis Hamilton, of course, he lost the final race in controversial circumstances. Was very, of course, downbeat, and rightfully so, after the end of that Grand Prix. He only did an interview, I think, with, was it Jensen Button, at the conclusion of the Grand Prix. And then since then, we've heard nothing. He has, I think, unfollowed everyone on Instagram, I believe, has Lewis Hamilton. And there's been rumours that Lewis Hamilton is set to retire from Formula One. But, where has this actually come from, and where is the argument behind it? That's what we, need to find out, because really this has come out of nowhere. And what I'm going to prove, if this all works, or, all fine, I'm going to prove that really the argument and, I guess, thought process behind this rumor is really just, there's nothing really there. So I'm going to try and see if what I'm going to do is going to work. So let me just do this quickly. Obviously, you can see my OBS screen. Don't get confused with all the different screens. But can you guys see this on screen? Let me know if you can. Let's see. Let me know if you can see my screen on the in chat. That'd be great if you guys could let me know that. Just put a yes in the chat or something like that. That'd be great. Or if one of the moderators can do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. So we can get, moving with this topic. Right. And also, I'm going to ask... hold on.
Lewis Hamilton has...
Can you guys hear that? What I just played there? Let me just play it and play a bit more
understandably been hit hard by his 2021 Formula One Championship defeat. The 7-time world champion missed out.
Could you guys hear that? Let me know if you guys could hear that. Just put a yes in the chat. Put yes, I can hear it. Right, there you go. So, yeah, shouldn't be any problems in regards to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to react to this video by the race, where they get into, could Lewis Hamilton retire from Formula One. And I'm going to prove, just checking my OBS set just to check it's working. So if you do again get confused by all those screens, then yeah, sorry about that. But that's how the display capture works on OBS. Yeah, what we're going to do is react to this video, and I'm going to prove that the argument behind this rumor, there isn't really an argument behind it. As well, just in case, just want to remind that if anyone, say, at the race does for some reason watch this stream, please do remember that I will be stopping your video plenty of times, so this will not be a copyright infringement. This will be fair use because I'll be stopping the video plenty of times to make points. So this will be me reacting to the video, and this won't be non-transformative. It will be transformative once we get into this video. But yeah, let's now get into it.
On another title after being overtaken on the final lap in Abu Dhabi by Max Verstappen, in a controversial conclusion created by how a late safety car period was handled. Now Hamilton's team boss Toto Wolff has said his driver is disillusioned, and Wolff's reluctance to speak definitively about Hamilton's future has raised questions about whether Hamilton could decide to just walk away from F1. Apart from a brief television appearance immediately after the race, in which he congratulated Verstappen and thanked his team, Hamilton hasn't had any media engagements or commented publicly since the season finale.
By the way, before I get on to any more, as they said, he hasn't commented anymore. He also, I think they'll probably say it, that he didn't attend the FIA end-of-season gala. The new FIA president, who we'll get into him later on, has said, that Hamilton is going to receive some kind of punishment. For anyone who's seen that, he's not going to receive anything really. I don't see what they can do. The FIA gala is just an awards ceremony. It's not it's not the end of the world. So I don't really blame Lewis Hamilton for not attending, to be honest. But yeah, let's go.
He has been pictured at Windsor Castle receiving his knighthood.
Also, good to see that he got knighted. No matter what you think about, being knighted, whether it really, matters or whatever you want to say, it is, good to see, because good to see that he's getting the recognition that he deserves, because, of course, he is definitely the best British racing driver of all time. And for me, in a stream we'll also be getting into, I think, in a week or two, I think he's probably the best driver of all time as well. So it's good to see that he gets his recognition now. And he's now, yes, Sir Lewis Hamilton, officially done in a ceremony.
Has since returned to Mercedes team headquarters as well. But Hamilton was absent from the FIA's mandatory end-of-season prize-giving ceremony this week, with Toto Wolff also skipping the Paris Gala in support. So it's clear that Mercedes and Hamilton are deeply hurt by what happened in Abu Dhabi and where their anger is being directed. We've made a few videos on this subject by now, so we won't go into massive detail about the events of the race. The key context is that Hamilton was denied the victory and the championship because the race should have ended under caution if the safety car period had been handled in the manner prescribed by the rules. Hamilton said on his team radio moments before taking the checkered flag that the race had been manipulated, and was pictured sitting in his car for 2 full minutes post-race as he contemplated what had happened.
Now, with him, I'll just check that you guys are still all there. In regards to him saying the race had been manipulated, I think those comments have been taken out of context. I think people who are on the bandwagon of, the FIA fixed the final race and that it was all meant that Max Verstappen and Red Bull was supposed to win. I think in regards to those comments, I think they've been taken out of context. I don't think that the race was fixed. And I don't think Lewis Hamilton was alluding to that. I think he was more so alluding to the safety car and lapped car situation. I think when he said manipulated, I think he meant more that it was manipulated that there would be a final racing lap, more than, they're trying to fix it for Max Verstappen. I don't think that's what he means, but I know people online have made that point, even though I completely disagree with it.
Mercedes challenged this outcome with a protest that was rejected by the stewards. It intended to appeal that steward's verdict with the FIA's International Court, but then decided to drop that legal challenge together with Hamilton.
That's a statement.
We'll get into why Mercedes felt backed into a corner on that later in this video, but Wolff has shed further light on the clear sense of betrayal Hamilton has felt around Sunday's finish. During a lengthy call with media after it was announced Mercedes had dropped its appeal, Wolff was asked whether there's any danger of Hamilton being disillusioned with F1 and not seeing out his Mercedes contract.
Lewis and I are disillusioned at the moment.
I have to say, Toto Wolff, I just love the way he's dressed like a James Bond villain in like a, I don't know, like, what's that James Bond film? Is it Moonraker or something like that? He's dressed like someone in that type of film, where it's like a snowy, or what James Bond film is it where there's like snow and all? It's like an older one. I can't remember which one it is, but he looks like a James Bond villain. That's all I was trying to say.
We're not disillusioned of the sport. We love the sport with every bone in our body, and we love it because because the stopwatch never lies. But if we break that fundamental principle of sporting fairness and authenticity of the sport, that suddenly the stopwatch doesn't become relevant anymore because we are exposed to random decision making. That is clear that you may fall out of love with that you start to question if all the work that you have been putting in, all the sweat, tears, and blood can actually be demonstrated in terms of bringing the best of possible performances on track, because it can be taken away randomly. So it's going to take a long time for us to digest what has happened on Sunday. I don't think we will ever come over it. That's not possible. And certainly not him as a driver. I would very much hope that the two of us and the rest of the team, we can work through the events. We can, with the FIA together and with F1, utilize the situation to improve the sport going forward. But he will never overcome the pain,
right? It's almost
and
over.
the distress that was caused on Sunday.
Wolff has made it clear that Hamilton is seriously hurt by what happened in Abu Dhabi, especially as Hamilton prides himself on being a principled person and racing driver. That makes what happened so difficult for him to stomach. According to Wolff, Hamilton will conclude that he needs to continue in F1 because he's still performing at such a high level. Hamilton has a contract with Mercedes that runs until the end of 2023 and will be joined next year by George Russell as Mercedes begins to plan for a future without its superstar driver.
So, let me just make sure everything's still working. It is. This is that what he just said there. Lewis Hamilton has a contract till, was it the end of 2023, and his new teammate George Russell. That really is my main argument behind, that's why Lewis Hamilton is not going to retire. Because if Lewis Hamilton was going to retire, I don't think he's the type of guy who's going to sign a contract mid-season and then retire a few races later because of one incident. He don't come across as that type of guy, and I don't think that's really a thing that anyone would do. I just don't see it. To sign a contract a few months before, or even a few weeks before. I can't remember exactly when he signed it. I think, was it July or August when he signed the contract for the next 2 years? I just don't think Lewis Hamilton is the type of guy to, again, sign a contract, then one thing happens and he's like, oh, I'm quitting. He's not that type of guy. Maybe if he was a lot more emotional about it, he would do that. Of course, he's an emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve, but I don't think Lewis Hamilton's that type of guy that he's going to, do that to Mercedes, because then Mercedes are going to be left, with, a month and a half until testing, trying to find a replacement. And of course, you can't replace Lewis Hamilton, but in terms of an actual replacement, it's going to be quite a tricky process at this point, because of course he hasn't said anything since. But I think if he was going to retire, I think he would have said by now to give Mercedes a chance. Because obviously Rosberg, when he retired, it was it 3 or 4 days after that he retired from Formula One? So yeah, I personally don't think he's going to retire, but we'll get into this video more and I'll show more of why this rumor or talking point is just, there's nothing behind it. I mean, you can see we're already 5 minutes in, almost to halfway through the video, and we've not heard a point yet as to why Lewis Hamilton could retire.
So theoretically, Hamilton will stay with Mercedes until at least the time he's approaching his 39th birthday. Yes, he's missed out on a record-breaking 8th title, but it was through no fault of his own, and it's clear he's still at the peak of his powers. Hamilton should have ended the year with 9 wins, and his form at crunch time in the title battle was superb. So his 2021 performances don't really have a bearing here. It comes down to what he wants to do, and that could be swayed by whether Hamilton has faith in the system around him.
I'm in a daily dialogue with him, but also...
I mean, does he have faith in the system around him? I mean, that isn't... I don't understand why they're saying that, because, I mean, he's been with them almost... he's been with them, 8 years? 9 years now? I mean, of course he has faith in the system, but it's like... remove that talking point and you look at, what Mercedes have been able to produce in terms of cars since he has really joined the team. There's no question as to whether Mercedes are good enough, whether Mercedes can provide him with what he needs. Mercedes last year still had a really good car. Was it as good as 2020? Obviously not. Was it the best car in 2021? Maybe not. Kind of a 50-50, but it was still good enough to win the championship. So, and as long as they can give Lewis Hamilton a car that is definitely able to compete strongly for the championship, that's all he wants. Because Mercedes are still a very strong team. They've still got all of the big players at the team: Toto, Allison, James Vowles, obviously his engineer. A lot of people in the team have really remained with the team for a long time. So, I just don't see why Lewis Hamilton would be at all questioning that at all, if that makes any sense. By the way, I'm not playing with fire. Come on, I'm not playing with fire.
Also respect that there is not a lot to talk at the moment. Each of us copes in their own way with the feelings that we have at the moment. And I just need to do the utmost that I can to help him to overcome his imminent feelings that he has, in order for him to return stronger, or to return strong with a love of the sport and trust in the decision-making of the sport next year. And we wish very much that this would be the case.
We're going to pause this video just for a moment to say thank you for watching, and thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the race so far. If you're enjoying this season Hamilton's discontent, we'd love to have you back for more videos in the future. Returning to the subject of Mercedes and Hamilton's discontent, it's worth pointing out that this is not a case of them being sore losers, because they don't have any hard feelings towards Verstappen for what happened. Wolff was keen to credit Verstappen for winning the title in Hamilton's place, and even though we believe that Hamilton...
I will say this is one thing I do like that Mercedes did, and Toto did, after the race, is that he made sure to not say anything bad about Verstappen, because there were plenty of people after the race, really going in hard on Verstappen because they felt it was rigged or, some bullshit like that. I'm really happy that that Toto, made sure to defend him and, praise him rightfully for the championship, because we don't need the flames, we don't need the fire to grow even bigger, over the winter break. So I'm happy that he said this, because it is true. No matter, what you think of the safety car and should it have come in or whatever, that wasn't Max Verstappen's problem or fault. He didn't do anything wrong. He did exactly what he needed to do. He didn't break any rules in the race on Sunday. So I like that Toto did that.
And the Mercedes were wronged, it's not Verstappen's fault, and it shouldn't detract from the quality of his own season. For what it's worth, Verstappen expects Hamilton to stay on to chase an 8th championship. The Red Bull driver said at the FIA's prize-giving ceremony that he understands the pain of losing the championship on the final lap. But as Hamilton put together such a strong season, with the two drivers sharing the top 2 positions 14 times in 22 races, Verstappen reckons Hamilton should stick around. He said, "I can understand that the first few days after a race like that, you're not happy. But you should also understand this is racing at the end of the day, and these things can happen to you."
Yeah,
I think he should just look back at what he has achieved already. That should give him a lot of comfort, and should also be that drive to just keep on going, because he is still trying to challenge for that 8th title, and he can do that again next year. So I don't see any reason to give up or stop now. Mercedes found itself effectively facing a lose-lose situation as it deliberated on legal action following the season finale. And the team's anger and frustration as it has come to terms with that has been clear to see. This doesn't make sense to a part of Hamilton's fan base that is very angry. Even Wolff and Mercedes.
Again, if you're a Hamilton fan, I can understand why you'd be angry about that. But again, when you look at the whole situation, like we've already talked about, they go through the FIA appeal process. They're gonna win, Hamilton the championship. So even though I still think he should have appealed just to prove the point that Michael Massey, what he did was wrong, they weren't gonna win Hamilton his 8th title. Just again, we're 3/4 of the way through this video. We still haven't heard a single reason or point as to why Lewis Hamilton could retire, which again, proving exactly my point that there is no real basis behind the rumour that, is Hamilton going to retire? Like, there's just nothing behind it. We'll continue with the rest of the video, though.
Have been targeted since dropping the appeal, facing criticism and accusations that the team is now complicit in Hamilton's unjust defeat. But there are 2 important things to consider. The first is that the FIA has sole authority over sporting issues within F1, so there is no avenue for external legal action unless there was a non-sporting crime committed. Tied to that is why the Court of Arbitration for Sport, or CAS, was not an option. CAS only has a very specific remit within Formula 1. It's responsible for handling any issues relating to doping. The second thing is that the FIA statutes don't seem to offer any route to alter the race result in a way that would have made Hamilton the winner, not Verstappen. It's easy to argue you should just take the classification from the penultimate lap, but if there's no mechanism to do that, it's going to fall on deaf ears. Especially as the FIA would have wanted to avoid an unprecedented ruling at all costs. So Mercedes faced a 2-part problem. An FIA-appointed panel would be judging the FIA steward's verdict that defended the FIA race director.
That right there is, they make a great point with that. That's exactly why that there was no point appealing, because you can just see, there's no point. In terms of getting it overturned, there's just no way.
And even if that panel ruled against the FIA, it would almost certainly not change the outcome of the result and the championship. That left Mercedes in the morally correct position, and with a legal case that Wolff said was almost guaranteed to win in a normal courtroom, yet still feeling there was no point committing to the appeal. It was either going to lose, or whatever win was on the table would not be a real win.
As I said before, there's a difference between being right and obtaining justice. And I don't think that...
We'll try and skip this interview part, because obviously now they're just talking about the FIA appeal stuff.
The diplomacy at play here will not appease everyone, but Mercedes found itself in an unenviable position and is searching for something positive to take away from what's happened. What F1 stakeholders cannot do now is think they've got away lightly from such a controversy. Mercedes has made it very clear how deeply upset both the team and Hamilton are. Even if Hamilton continues racing as expected, it seems F1 and its greatest ambassador are a long way from reconciliation.
Well, there you go. That's basically, and I'll just get rid of that. That's basically the video, and hopefully you guys heard that all okay. But point I'm trying to make in regards to that video that we just showed. There you go. Unplugging my headphones. So you saw that video. I mean, I wouldn't say... I'm not going to try and sit here and say that the race started the rumor, but of course they are, prominent journalists, and that video, of course, had plenty of views. But you can see there is no real point or argument of, like, this is why I think Lewis Hamilton could retire, or why there's nothing. There's literally nothing. It's just someone made up what if Hamilton retires, and now this bullshit speculation just pushed out there that Lewis Hamilton is suddenly going to retire because one race didn't go his way. It's infuriating, really, that this happens, because it's. I think you could probably say it's clickbait. I mean, everyone on YouTube and social media does clickbait, but there's literally no basis behind what they're saying. I mean, they did make some good points in regards to other things in that video, but in regards to making an argument, or, this is why Lewis Hamilton could retire. Maybe this, that, and the other. There was none of that. It was just, well, Hamilton's hurt. Well, yeah, of course he's hurt, but he's not going to retire over it. I mean, again, he's a lot more mature than that to just decide, that's it, I'm quitting, because one race didn't go his way. But I think what we'll do is I'll go back to some of these pictures, get this back up, and we'll come to you guys in the chat to see what you guys have to think about that. Rooksfoot says sometimes you get bad echoes. Audio was good on the video. Sometimes you get bad echoes. That might be through my headphones or something. I don't know. But I'm sure all you guys were able to hear that video. But let's read what you guys have to say in regards to that video. And by the way, like I said, in terms of, because I know someone said, isn't this going to get copyrighted? Under fair use, that should not get copyrighted, because I paused it a few times and made points. I, transformed the content because I made points in regards to the video. I didn't just play the whole video through. I just watched the whole video and then said something. I made points during it. You go watch like loads of streamers or political streamers or whatever like that. They do that all the time, and it's fine in terms of reacting to content. So, yeah, it should be fine. If not, then I'll, if the race decide to hit me with a copyright claim, then I'll have to, of course, declare war on them and invade their country. But if not, then, yeah, should all be fine. And that's probably what we're going to be doing, I think, this year in terms of content. We're going to be doing that a lot more, reacting to content. Maybe we'll react to other F1 YouTubers' content, maybe. Depends if, I find some piece of content that I feel I disagree with or want to make a point. But, yeah, in terms of that, I wanted to make that point because, again, there's just no real basis behind the bullshit story, really. Let's find some comments in regards to this. By the way, Alex, who asks, when's the car reveal? If you go to the start of the stream, if you click back, to the start of the stream, then you should be able to see the pictures I went to. Keridus says, if Lewis Hamilton has made up his mind to retire, he would have already made such a statement. As there isn't much F1 news at the moment, it would focus all F1 news channels on the reason he would mention in a statement. Let's find some other comments here. Yeah, the race was not fixed, as Roy's saying in the chat. Trying to find some other ones. Crown Tiger saying the race was fixed for Max to win. Again, no. Colt Alabama says all I can hear is whining when I watch Toto in this video. C. Oz says Pride Hamilton saying it was manipulated team radio. He asked Toto twice if he was to box and could hear his discontent about Toto's decision. If it was up to Hamilton to decide, I think Hamilton definitely would have pitted. I think he knew he had to come in and get new tyres on. Rooksfoot says this whole story just to get media exposure. Hamilton will be in for 2 more years, I reckon, says Rooksfoot. Yeah, like I said, he signed a contract. Like, why would he leave? Let me see if there's any other comments in regards to this. Roy says many of the penalties given during the last couple of years have been stupid, especially the track limit stuff. It is paved, use it. Carola, I think it is, says they are still going in for Verstappen on Twitter. It's just ridiculous. Just as ridiculous how they go on about Hamilton on the other side. They both made this season a really good season. That's a big reason why I'm not on Twitter anymore, because I cannot stand F1 Twitter. There are some people on F1 Twitter who are like genuinely funny and make good points, but most of it is just a cesspit of just terrible stuff, lies, and absolutely absurd claims. It really, really is. And I just cannot stand it. And yeah, people still like going after Max for this whole controversy. It's like, it's just blind hatred. That's what it is. Let's see if there's any other comments in regards to this. Sander says, my opinion, Lewis should have won Abu Dhabi at the championship. Max and Lewis deserve it both. I'm from the Netherlands. Ewok says the race is the worst F1 clickbait. I haven't watched too many of the race's videos in the last few months, but I have started, at least seeing some of their titles and thumbnails a bit more in the last couple months. And yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we all do clickbait. I mean, look at my thumbnail. I have a red arrow in my thumbnail, so let's not pretend like I'm innocent. Everyone does clickbait. Everyone has to do clickbait. That's how this whole thing works. But when it comes to like that, when it's like they didn't make a point really, they just didn't really say anything in regards to why they think or what the thinking is behind why he could retire, then yeah, that's more of the bad clickbait that we talk about. Canadian Maple Fans says, Chazza, your channel is simply the best F1 live news program on YouTube. Appreciate your concise and accurate views. Thank you from Toronto, Canada. Thank you very, very much. But I think what we'll do is we will now get into the final couple bits of news. Let me just get into that. So, there is a new FIA president. So, Jean Todt, who has been FIA president since the end of 2009, I believe. He is no longer president of the FIA. He has been succeeded by Mohammed Ben Sulayem, I think is how you pronounce his name. He is a former rally driver, I believe, and I believe I saw that he has entered WRC, the World Rally Championship. I think he has entered it before, so he is a proper racing driver. He's not someone who has no motor racing experience. He has proper experience, and yeah, that's the news in regards to that. Jean Todt, been reported in some quarters that Jean Todt may be taking a consultancy role at Ferrari, which is interesting. I mean, if he's still interested in running a team, then get back in there. But yeah, there's that rumour going around that Jean Todt might be back in at his old team Ferrari. But yeah, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, he is a new FIA president, and he is the one who, of course, who I think promised a proper investigation into the Abu Dhabi controversy. And even was talking about, we need to try and, cannot allow Lewis Hamilton to, not turn up to the gala, which, like I said, doesn't really matter. And I don't understand really why it's being put up as a massive thing, really. But there you go. But Yep, that's your new FIA president. And really, the next thing, or the only thing after that, is this. So these are pictures from the post-season test in Abu Dhabi that some or all of the teams did. And you may notice with the tyres in certain pictures that the tyres are different. It's because they ran the new 18-inch tyres that you're going to be seeing for 2022. Of course, bigger tyres for this season compared to last season. And in certain pictures, you will see the new tyres. And I have to say, definitely from the side view, which try and see if I can get to one of those side view pictures of the cars. Oh, there was one just there, actually. There you go. That's Sergio Perez, isn't it? Yeah, number 11. Those are the new tyres. I actually really like them. They look really nice. I think a couple years ago, we saw them being run on a Ferrari, I think it was, and they didn't look too great. But now we've seen them a bit more. I really do like them. So I cannot wait, really, to see these tyres and obviously the new cars in action in 2022. A reminder that we have, I'm trying to think how long until pre-season testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7.5 weeks until the first day of testing. 7.5 weeks. By the way, the first pre-season test will not be televised, just to let you guys know. The second test, though, will be televised, which is on I think the second weekend of March, and it's also was it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on that second weekend of March. So yeah, of course we'll be covering that for the channel. But there you go, more pictures. That's a very nice livery there on the McLaren. But yeah, I'll try and read out some final comments from you guys, and then I think we'll get to the conclusion here of the stream. Let's see if there's anything else here to read. Carola says, I saw a really good comment. The fan base of Max and Lewis are very similar to the fan base of Marquez and Rossi and MotoGP. I agree with that. It's not even just that, though, is it? It's football. I mean, football Twitter can be amazingly funny and incredibly toxic at all the same time. The same with that as well. Some people on Twitter said the FIA is racist because they didn't want a black driver to win. Imagine a black driver winning the World Championship. Oh, wait, says Prussia. Yeah, I mean, people have been saying that. I mean, just, again, absolute nonsense. The people who have been saying that. And, you know what? I think one final thing we'll do. Let me get it up. Let me just get it up quick. I'm going to go through some of the comments on that Verstappen Hamilton video because, I mean, some of them I did. I think some of them I did delete because they were like bad comments. But I think some of them we'll actually get into because some of them were actually funny. And how do I only get comments up for a certain video? You know what? Actually, let me just do the display capture again. There you go. Again, don't get confused by the multi-screen, but that's what display capture does. So these are some of the comments I get, and you've got. I mean, this is This is the one on that video. Saying Rosberg was more deserving than desperate cheating Max. And for them people that didn't click to Max confirming at Bahrain he was willing to cheat to win after his illegal overtake, he asks why didn't Red Bull let him keep cheating? Because he could overcome the penalty. Just absolute blatant nonsense once again. So thanks for this comment, Mr. Walker. Let's try and go a bit further back. Obviously we've got some old videos here. Get in some action there. Why do all Anglo speakers pretend there is no I in Daniel's name? Ricciardo, not Ricardo. It's just an easier way to say it. Instead of your opinion, I wish it was set on track. I mean, yeah, I think everyone would prefer that. Lewis was robbed. It was a fiasco. Again, just a bit over the top. And then you got one there from Paul, who says, Max deserved the win. You're not serious unless you didn't actually watch Massey, the gift Massey gave him. Max did not win, but was gifted thanks to Massey and FIA. Again, the title of that video, it clearly said Max Verstappen deservingly beat Lewis Hamilton in 2021, not that Max Verstappen deservingly beat Lewis Hamilton in the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. That is not what the title said, but the reason that title got such a reaction out of some people is because it was still so fresh and people were like, oh, you know, people were thinking, oh, he means Abu Dhabi. It's like, no, I mean the whole season. What the video's about. FIA manufactured champion. I can't believe what I hear from the video. You've always been smart and reasonable, but this time I cannot believe. Again, just overreacting and reacting in a just really emotional way. What other comments do we have here? Actually, you know what I'll do? Let me just hide that. I'll go and find something that actually I screenshotted it and sent it to Nib. A few weeks ago. Let me find it and then put it on screen because it was funny. I screenshotted someone a comment thread on my comments. But I actually deleted this comment because it was like a proper, like, bad accusation. So let me right, let me get it up on screen quickly because it is funny. And it is also, again, a bad accusation that you guys are, I'm sure, not going to like. That is if you like me. Let me just make sure you're all still... Yeah, there you go. Let me just go back to this. So Marvin Lawrence says, and by the way, I've deleted this comment thread. I don't think you can find this anymore on the comments of the video, but he says, now this dude is trying to gaslight us, saying deservingly beat. I wasn't trying to gaslight you. I was illustrating my opinion in the title. I mean, yes, I did it. I did do it so it was more clickable, but again, everyone on this website does that, so I'm not having any of that. We have now reached the part of the programming where people like this dude is trying to convince us to ignore what our eyes saw on Sunday. Again, going on and on about, oh, but in Abu Dhabi. But again, the video was not about that. It was about how over the course of the season, Max, in my view, deservingly beat Hamilton. I'm not saying Hamilton wasn't deserving. They both were. But again, Max was more deserving, in my view. And then Derek, who was defending me, I think, a bit, said, what did you see? And I will tell you what you missed. And then Denzel comes out with an absolute cracking comment, I have to say, saying, Chazza is white guy from Devon or the southwest of England. He was never going to be on our side, and that's fine. Only watch black F1 content from now on. Just wonderful. Of course, guys, the reason I said Max deservingly won the championship is because I'm actually racist. That is the actual reason, isn't it? Just an absolute mental comment, and hopefully never have to see that guy again. But apparently because I'm white and I'm from the southwest of England, which I don't really understand why that matters, that means that I'm a Lewis Hamilton hater. again, just don't understand why that matters. And then Derek says, nice to know that people like you are making the world a better place. Nothing like an echo chamber to give you a nice diverse view. Marvin Lawrence says, diverse view for a diverse sport. Oh wait, as if F1 isn't already an echo chamber for the perspective of a certain group. And then it gets into a bit more of just like race talk. But yeah, there you go. So according to some, I'm apparently I think Verstappen deserved to win because I don't like black people, apparently. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's why I absolutely love social media, and the YouTube comment section is just the fountain of knowledge, isn't it? When it comes to the internet, it's where everything great about the internet just comes about. It's just so wonderful. Just love it so much. And honestly, a couple years ago, guys, I would have got I probably would have been a bit more emotional about it. I'm a bit more hurt, being accused of stuff like that. But now I just fucking laugh because it's just so funny. Like, really? Just because I didn't... This might be a bit graphic. Just because I didn't suck the dick of your favourite driver, I'm now a hater of them? Or I'm racist? I mean, I'm going to do a video or a stream next week where I literally get into why I think Lewis Hamilton is the greatest driver of all time. And I've said it plenty of times, by the way, in the last year. But apparently I'm still racist because I didn't, think he's the greatest specimen of all time. It's still incredible that the IQ of these people hasn't improved in the last few years. It's still just as toxic as it was back in 2019, where, of course, that year I grew the channel quite a bit and got quite a bit of interesting comments at times when I was reviewing certain incidents. But it's so hilarious now. Again, when I get comments like that, I just laugh because it's like they're playing a role of just, yeah, I'm the guy who's going to accuse you of something that you're not and have no evidence behind it just because I'm a mad crybaby. That's just pretty much what that's pretty much what it is. Again, it's so funny to me. Corolla says, if people draw the racist card, you can never give criticism, even if that criticism is correct. Yeah. Let me show this from Prussia. Oh no, hold on. Oh no, Tonka's hid it. I'll show it though. Or no, I'll read out the message now that I can unhide it quickly. He says, so many comment sections are the fountain of youth, but with shit instead of water. It is true. But I think we'll come to the end there, guys. We've been streaming for a couple hours. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We covered a few topics. Nice, relaxed stream. And yeah, I should be live. In terms of my next piece of content, it's either going to be on Friday of this week. It's dependent on my job. If I've got enough days off towards the end of this week, then I'm probably going to do a stream on Friday, where maybe I'll do some more React content and get into a couple more topics. Maybe we'll talk about Michael Massey a bit more and stuff like that. But if I get a bit more, because with my work situation, it's a case of hearing from them what shifts for my job that I'm allocated. So if I am allocated more shifts, which I probably will be, then there won't be a stream later this week. It'll probably be the next stream will probably be early-ish next week, where the stream I've got planned for next week is we're going to be talking, or I am going to be talking about why Lewis Hamilton is the greatest driver of all time. And also getting into, did Sergio Perez actually perform in comparison to Verstappen better than Gasly and Albon did? We're going to be getting into that as well, and probably some other stuff as well. Maybe some more React content. But yeah, there might be a stream, like I said, on Friday. Again, dependent on whether I have enough days off around the end of the week. If I get another work shift, then I'm probably not going to do a stream. So I'd probably say the chances of me doing a stream later this week are probably 60-40 or 65-35 in terms of no. But again, I'll let you guys know if that is any different. there probably will be a clip from this stream being uploaded for anyone who's not been able to tune in. Yeah, that'll probably be uploaded. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. Maybe I'll upload another one. We'll have to see. I'll go back to the stream and see if there's anything else that needs to be uploaded. But there's definitely one stream clip that's going to be coming out probably, like I said, on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. But yeah, I'll be, in terms of me definitely being live, it will be early next week for that Hamilton and Perez topic stream. So yeah, hopefully you guys can come along to that. But yeah, great to have you guys back with us for this stream. And hopefully you will join me for the streams coming up in the winter before we get into the proper Formula 1 season. And yeah, great to see you guys here. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week. If you are new to the channel though, don't forget to subscribe for that new content coming up very, very soon. Bottom right of the screen, you can subscribe right there, or go to my channel page and do it there. Whilst you're there, hit the notifications bell. As well, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And as well, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description. That's the best place for notifications for my videos and streams. So make sure to join our Discord there as well. But guys, until my next stream, which again might be end of this week, most likely it'll be the start of next week. Until then, guys, it has been me, Shazza HD. Goodbye.